The morning I opened something new in my mailbox, I had no idea it would turn everything around. It was a plain envelope. No stamp, no return address. Just one sentence on a piece of paper. "You're not done with us yet." I stared at the slip longer than I should have. It wasn't just ominous. It was arrogant. No signature, no name. Only a warning that whatever Karen had been working on, it wasn't complete. I wasn't unsettled, though. I was familiar with intimidation tactics. I'd been trained to read them, recognize them, and break them down. But this wasn't strategic. This was petty, desperate. And desperation always creates mistakes. Then there was silence. Karen stopped patrolling in the mornings. No clipboard strolls, no more hedges peered over. Silence is not peace, though. It's tension. The sort you experience when lightning is close to striking. I kept the cameras rolling, swept over every angle. And day 3, I caught something. It wasn't Brent. It wasn't a rent cop. It was some new guy. Average build, hoodie, gloved hands. They came out of the woods in the back of my property, trespassing along a county fence line. They didn't come after the truck this time. They hit the barn. That was an error. The barn was not storage. It was a strategic rebuild base, drone military-grade sets, specialty parts, backup cameras, drones, and a few not-so-legal products I wasn't supposed to be carrying. The man tried to enter by force, but he triggered alarms, one silent, one loud. He fled, but not before my drone recorded everything. License plate number, route of escape. By 9 a.m., I had his name. A former HOA vice president. Karen's longtime boyfriend, or thug, depending on who you spoke with. I dug deeper into Karen's past. I had whistleblower HOA emails sent my way. There were strings of illegal votes, threats, and a plan to dominate the neighborhood. Karen called it Operation Neighborhood Purge. I printed out everything, every email, every fine, every photo she'd snapped, creeping around behind bushes. And then I sent it all to the county clerk's office, the state regulatory board, and even the local news. I entitled the flash drive Unauthorized Authority in Legacy Hills, a study in delusion. 2 days later, it did blow. There was a feature on the news that had pictures of Karen's illegal HOA actions. Interviewing the neighbors, the works. It went viral. Karen tried to leave a comment, but the comments turned against her in a hurry. One of them said, "Karen, you asked for a street parking permit from a Navy SEAL. You lost." I figured that was the end of it. But I underestimating Karen. The police showed up the next morning. 3 of them. They said they had an anonymous tip about weapons stockpiling and militia activity. Karen had tried to SWAT me. I wasn't worried. I showed all my papers and federal permits to the officers. They cleared me within 20 minutes. But Karen, she'd gone too far. False reporting, harassment, proxy trespassing. And then it hit the fan. Karen got a cease and desist letter from the Attorney General's office. Brent and Rick were subpoenaed. The sheriff even went with an investigator to her house to collect all HOA records. But Karen wasn't done. A few days later, she showed up on my front gate with a clipboard, a camera crew, and a freshly printed HOA handbook. She declared, "We have repossessed this vehicle under emergency neighborhood authority." I didn't say a thing. I just pushed the panic button on my phone. In a matter of minutes, an unmarked SUV stopped. The federal officer exited the vehicle, looked at Karen, looked at the truck, and said, "You're seriously taping yourself committing federal obstruction." Karen was shocked. The officer cautioned her. "One more episode, and it won't be civil." I thought that was it, but I was wrong. 2 nights after that, my cameras captured something I didn't expect. It wasn't Karen anymore. Someone else was behind it all. someone who had access to internal resources, someone who actually knew their tech skills. I had his face on camera. A man in a dress shirt, no camo or fake badges. He swiped an access card and opened the gate as if he had permission. I knew right away. Karen wasn't crashing solo. Someone else was helping her. I investigated further. His name was Thomas Beck, employed by Karen to wire up cameras under the guise of an upgrade in security. The catch? He'd falsified HOA paperwork to seek out a development grant, spent thousands in private cameras and signal blockers, all funded by county coffers. It was fraud, and it was brilliant. I built it up. Documents, film, returns, bills. I called up the county planning board. I put it all out in front of them. The neatly stacked files, the timed footage, everything. No melodrama, just facts. The room's mood shifted from skepticism to panic when I produced the bank routing numbers displaying the grant funds tracing directly to Karen's account. The board was shocked. At the meeting's end, the chairman of the board shook my hand and thanked me. Within 72 hours, Karen got another cease and desist letter, this time with some bite. Beck was served a summons. The county pulled all of the cameras that she'd installed, initiated an audit, and shut everything down. The community buzzed with gossip, but for the first time in months, it actually felt like a neighborhood. Karen lost it in the heat of the moment. She paced back and forth one morning in her front yard, bare feet, yelling about deep state plots. Her lawn looked like a protest ground, orchestrated by a bad art student. The sheriff came and took her out for a short psych evaluation. The neighborhood had a barbecue, and I was shoved towards the grill. They gave me a cold beer and welcomed me in as if I'd just returned from deployment. 2 weeks later, I received a letter from the county. They requested that I counsel them on the new grant program. They requested that I accept a part-time position with a stipend to prevent this kind of abuse in the future. I accepted. Karen tried to make me the enemy of the neighborhood, but instead made me the authority she most feared. Now, I park the truck right out in plain sight, glinting like a monument to patience and legal nicety. A new sign on the gate reads, "This property is protected by federal law and common sense. Violators will be laughed at, then prosecuted." Now and then, a new neighbor will spot the truck or the cameras. I just smile, hand them a burger, and say, "Don't worry, there's no HOA here, not anymore."